Hey, what's up guys, Chad here, and today I just want to make a quick video on the Viper V2 Pro. Now, this mouse has had tons of drama around it and just all kinds of stuff going on, and I don't want to touch on any of that stuff, but I want to talk about the value of this mouse, not related to the drama, but entirely separate things that I haven't really heard anybody talk about yet at all. So I had a video that was completely rendered and edited and everything, and I was ready to upload it, but I decided to just go ahead and delete it and buy another copy of the mouse a third time. So I bought one and I bought another one. The first two are terrible. The third one is good. The clicks are still kind of crappy on it compared to something like a G Pro Superlight or maybe even like my Pulsar X-Lite V2. And honestly, I even think the clicks on the Viper Mini feel better than the new Viper V2 Pro, which is kind of crazy. The whole mouse just kind of feels cheap to me, and I know that's partially because it's light, but it's also because the coating is just very rough. It's like, kind of feels like sandpaper on your hands a little bit, like really fine sandpaper, like maybe like 8000 grit or something like that. But it's not a very nice feeling after you hold a premium mouse like the G Pro Superlight in your hand, where it's smooth but still very grippy, and it just feels really premium in the hand. And this is also a $150 mouse. The problem with this mouse for me is every single one of these, well, really mostly the first two especially, have massive button wobble. And yeah, like the normal button wobble that you can see when you just tilt it back and forth, right, like this. But I'm talking about when you're playing in game, you can feel the buttons underneath your fingers like moving around and kind of crunching. And it has that typical Razer Viper crunchy, mushy feeling that we hated on the original V1 and was kind of fixed on the V2 for the most part. And honestly, I think these feel worse than the Viper Ultimate switches with the V2 switches. They just move around a lot, and it's very noticeable in game to me. Also on my first copy, like, it has something stuck in the scroll wheel is what it feels like. So it feels very cheap and hollow and just not good for an expensive mouse. The side buttons all feel kind of cheap on my copies, but they are at least, you know, they protrude more and they're much easier to press. So that's nice. But my main issue with the mouse is the consistency between all three of these. Like, every single one of these mice feels very different in my hand, and yet they're all the same mouse and they're all made in China. So I'm guessing all these mice are made in China right now, because I haven't heard of any other ones made anywhere else, but they all feel like they're made in China. They just feel cheap. And each one of these three mice, all of the clicks feel very different, which tells me that they're having trouble being consistent up at Razer. And every single mouse feels different in the hand. So it's like, I aim differently on all three of these mice. Like, you can't just go buy another Viper V2 Pro and have the exact same aim, because I have 3 copies, but you know, it feels different on every single one. And yeah, 3 copies is not enough to like have a real like informed quality control assessment or whatever, right? You can't really like judge it off 3 copies. But most people buy 1 copy, and I bought 3 trying to get a good one. And I just don't feel like you should have to buy 3 mice to get an acceptable copy at $150. And I'm not just bashing on Razer here, like, I don't want to get involved in any of the drama, like I said, but this is the Superlight. It's also $150. And I bought 2 of these mice before I kept this third one. The first one had a really messed up scroll wheel, and the second one, when I would shake it up and down like this, you could feel the entire scroll wheel mechanism shifting like up and down, like something in between the base and the scroll was just like flopping around the weight. It was really crazy, and it made the mouse feel super broken and cheap. And again, that's unacceptable for a $150 mouse. Like, how that gets out of the factory, I have no idea. Like, it's crazy. But I don't have any brand loyalty to any of these guys, right? I'm just on a quest to find the best mouse possible, and preferably a wireless mouse that fits perfectly and I have good aim on, that will last for a long time, and you know, like, you get your money's worth. And honestly, this mouse is not that. I do have great aim on the third copy, but this one honestly feels really similar to my Viper Mini, which is crazy. It's just like an upscaled version of the Viper Mini, because it's very curved in on the sides here compared to these first 2 copies, where it's almost like more straight feeling and a little broader at the grip, right? So it's like, I don't have as good of maneuverability on these first 2 copies, and so my aim feels really off. Also, all 3 of my copies will actuate the side buttons with just squeezing on the left side. The right side does not flex at all, and overall the build quality does feel solid on these. My main gripe is just with the consistency of the button feels and the clicks being mushy and having tons of just movement underneath the buttons. These do not feel anything like my old Viper Ultimate, which I had a bunch of those also. I'm very familiar with that mouse. I used to main it for a while too. And if you guys have seen my older videos, it was like always on my desk. So I know the Viper Ultimate a lot, and these feel absolutely nothing like it. And this just feels like a scaled up Viper Mini to me because the way the sides curve in and the way I use my hybrid grip, it really fits my hand well. It's not quite as good as a Viper Mini for me, but it is a little bigger, so it kind of feels a little more stable in some ways. And my aim has been really fantastic on this mouse, I have to admit, and I'm going to keep this mouse, but it doesn't mean I can recommend, you know, this mouse for $150. It's just absolutely crazy that the clicks are so bad on this mouse and the shapes vary so much, and there's just different problems going on with them, and the textures aren't even consistent between the three of them, you know, like one is extremely rough feeling, one's kind of smooth and feels like the old Viper Ultimate, and then the other one is more textured than the first. It's like they're all just very inconsistent. And then I have the Pulsar X-Lite V2, and this is a mouse that's really made me change the way I think about mice in the whole industry lately. Is this mouse is $80 and it has better build quality than everything sitting here on the table, even the Superlight, which is crazy to me. And it has no problems with any of the clicks, like very balanced clicks, great side buttons. You can get awesome feet for these too, like very customizable feet in all kinds of colors. It's under 60 grams or around 60 grams at least, I can't remember right now. And it's just a great, well-made mouse, you know? Now, as far as like the Viper V2 Pro and the G Pro Superlight, which one would I recommend? Honestly, I think the Superlight is still the safer bet by far, and it's just a more comfortable mouse, feels more premium in the hand. And typically, I think you're gonna get a better made Superlight out of the box, like a better copy, you know, versus like the V2 Pro right now. It just kind of feels sketch. This copy here is really good, but this Superlight's really good. Both 150, it's a very much a shape preference kind of thing, but you know, they both have the same setup now, like same side buttons. You know, this one has optical clicks obviously, and the Superlight doesn't, but I would recommend the Superlight over the V2 Pro, and that's really sad to say because I was so excited for this mouse, and I might even main this mouse, but I'm just trying to keep it real, man. I can't really recommend the mouse for 150 bucks unless you are somebody who is dead set on the Razer Viper shape and you are a competitive / professional player. So yeah, that's all I got for this one, guys. Kind of a different video for me, more of a rant than a review, but you know, it is what it is, and I'm just here to keep things real with you guys and, you know, just tell it like it is. So that's all I got for this one. Later.